As a part of 16 Days of Activism Campaign, today we are going to talk about something very important. Today I would like to title our discussion as Bridging Knowledge and Action, Academic Insight on Combating Gender-Based Violence in Sri Lanka. For that, I have invited one of the renowned professors with regard to conducting studies on gender and development. So, we have here with us Professor Fazeeha Azmi, professor in geography at the Department of Geography, University of Peradeniya here with us. So, she will be sharing some insights about how this gender-based violence is prevailing in Sri Lanka and also incorporating some insights from her research that has been conducted extensively in Sri Lanka. So, coming to my first question, I would like to ask Professor Fazeeha about what is the current status of gender-based violence in Sri Lanka, particularly with regard to recent statistics and records.
Thank you very much, Manishini. The topic that you have chosen is a very important topic these days. There are a lot of discussion going on in terms of gender-based violence. Of course, in terms of the current situation related to gender-based violence, you can see obviously there is an increase. Even before the COVID-19, there was a national level survey done with 25 districts by the Department of Census and Statistics along with the UNDP and also a Canadian government fund. It's an island-wide survey. It says among the people who were affected by the GBV, there are about 20%, 20.5 were affected by intimate partner violence. And there's another 39.8 they were affected by intimate partner violence, economic violence and sexual violence, physical violence. So, this itself shows where we are. So, the trend actually started to grow after the COVID-19, where women had to face more and more problems in their homes. So, this is the trend, and then apart from that, based on my studies, I saw that the anecdotal evidence clearly shows that gender-based violence is taking place widely, but in a hidden way. That is what I can say about the current situation in terms of gender-based violence in Sri Lanka.
That being said, ma'am, I know there had been lots of research done in lots of NGOs and like especially UN and all, but I would like to narrow down a little bit. Could you share some details about the findings of your research on gender-based violence and what are your key findings of those researchers and how can they contribute to understanding or addressing gender-based violence in Sri Lanka?
Based on my research experience, especially in the northern east and also in the upcountry, I would like to say that these gender-based violence has to be viewed in or framed in different ways. In terms of the northern east, the experience of the women who experience gender-based violence, their experience are more connected to the war situation. But at the same time, when it comes to the plantation sector, it is a very unique type of gender-based violence they are experiencing. In terms of the war-affected area, former war-affected area, I would say that there's a huge number of women heads of the household who are undergoing different types of gender-based violence, but they are not very open. That is one of the things. And then among the WHH, women heads of the households also, you need to think about there are different categories. So, different categories of women are experiencing different sorts of gender-based violence. For example, I know that some of the women heads of the household in the northern east, they are having this identity, the intersection, which is called ex-LTTE combatants. They are not fully socially integrated. So, they are in a way marginalized. They are trying to get a safe space in their community. So, while doing that, while they are trying to secure a safe space in their community, they undergo lots and lots of troubles. And in such instances, I have noticed through my research, they are facing these issues, even the sexual briberies to get economic benefits and even to get their names registered in the formal, service delivery, they are being asked about sexual briberies, which is a very pathetic situation. So coming back to the situation in the plantation sector, in terms of gender-based violence, I would say it is taking place very seriously, but again attached to the stigma and cultural and social dimension, these are not coming out very clearly. It is not only related to the social, economic, social, cultural stigma, but I also would like to say that gender-based violence is not fully understood by the people who are experiencing it. So that is another thing that we need to consider. So in that case also, it is not coming out. But obviously, through my research, I found that being a researcher in the field, I was able to understand that, okay, these are the things that women are undergoing, men are undergoing. So you have to be very careful, Manishini. I mean, when you're talking about gender-based violence, it affects both men and women. But in this interview, I would like to highlight the women's experience as well, women's experience mostly. So in that case, I would say that these women are experiencing gender-based violence silently. Compared to North and East, they don't have much facilities in terms of accessibility to services that they need in terms of where in situations where they face gender-based violence and its consequences. And the other thing is they are not aware of what exactly it does it mean when it comes to gender-based violence. So that is another thing that I understood. But coming back to the North and East, I would like to say, with the help of civil society organizations and NGO, to a greater extent, many women are aware of what gender-based violence means. So they are mobilizing themselves, they are part of certain NGOs, and they are involved in awareness programs. When it comes to the Malayalam Tamil community, a recent research done by UNFPA indicates that 83% of the women there have undergone intimate partner violence, which means that it's a big number. We have to think about that very seriously. My research basically in terms of the Malayalam Tamil community focused on unsafe migration from the plantation sector. So in that way, I found that there are a lot of issues related to gender-based violence in the community. Especially, I would like to highlight the women who are involved in migration either locally or internationally as a labor migrant from the Malayalam Tamil community are facing a lot of challenges in terms of gender-based violence. It's very interesting to note that these women are trying to escape gender-based violence at home and they are ending up in gender-based violence abroad. So they are, they have to live in two worlds, which is very difficult. And then when it comes to this community, I would like to highlight the children who are being left behind. I'm not emphasizing the word left behind, but you are waiting for their mothers to return. They also find a little bit difficult to cope up with this situation. First of all, they are not very much aware of what does it mean when it comes to gender-based violence. That is one of the huge problem. And then even if they know, the other thing is, for example, if they have undergone a gender-based violence, they find it difficult to tell this problem to another person. Especially in the absence of mothers, they might tell that to a grandmother or an aunt if the grandmother or aunt are around, but they are not willing to tell the problem to their fathers. So they are suppressing the issue. So that creates a lot of problems. And then these are, I'm talking about basically the children, they are facing a lot of issues. But when it comes to the women above 18, they are facing these problems within the community as well as outside. If you observe the recent changes taking place in the Malayalam Tamil community, it is really interesting to see how the young, especially the youth, are moving up in the social development ladder. They are not only making economic changes, but also they are making vibrant social changes. But when they are moving out of that ladder, moving up in the ladder, they are not coming back to the community. So they are either settled in the places where they find employment outside the settlement, or they go out abroad and all. So which means that there's a huge vacuum existing in the Malayalam Tamil community, because that knowledge that they gain from universities or other places, that's not departed in terms of this specific area, gender-based violence. So the problems start to develop and sustain in the same way. And also I would like to say among the Malayalam Tamil community, in terms of the vigilance or awareness about gender-based violence is also limited. Although there are recently a lot of initiatives are being done in order to make them aware, especially I would like to say the school programs, they are doing well. And also certain NGOs are working in terms of making or raising the awareness among the women especially and the young girls, so they are doing well. But there should be more interventions in the future, because they are producing, the Malayalam Tamil community is backbone of our economy in terms of the export economy. So are we just going to focus only on their economic benefits? They are human resources of the country. So we need to provide them with good facilities and services in terms of accessing GBV related issues, especially knowledge is very important, awareness is very important, and also the services that they are in need in terms of addressing the gender-based violence issue, that is very important. And also what about the administration, management in terms of the plantation sector? Are the Malayalam Tamil community, are they fully, absorbed into the system, or they are having still the, hierarchy, which is really a problem I find. In several tea estate in the upcountry that I did my research, in 3 districts, I found that this hierarchy is dominating. And even if a woman, had to face gender-based violence, she would find it difficult to get leave from the job. And then there are services available in the nearest town, not within at least in my research areas, not within the plantation estate itself, but they have to go outside to seek those services. So who is going to compensate the transport? Who is going to take care of the child if a married woman is going out to seek this service? And who is going to compensate the day's pay? So these are some of the issues that when it comes to accessing those services, that's a huge issue I find in the Malayalam Tamil community.
That being said, Professor Fazeeha, I know that when conducting research, you always come up with recommendations. So it can be qualitative recommendations, maybe quantitative recommendations, or maybe policy reforms, you name it, you can do lots of recommendations when you conduct a research. But I would like to ask the next question. So when you propose recommendations, especially to address gender-based violence, what are the challenges that you face, especially when it comes to the practical application of these recommendations? Do you think that the recommendations suggested through academic research can be applied practically? So can I have an insight about that also?
Yeah, based on the research that we have done, we have made several research recommendations, especially when it comes to the Malayalam Tamil community. I find that our recommendation basically focused on they should be treated as a kind of special category, because Malayalam Tamil community is a kind of a unique social group. They are, although with globalization and internationalization they are mixing, we need to give a special identity that would be very helpful. I would like to say that when it comes to implementation of the recommendation, we need to think about the uniqueness, because these context specific tailor-made recommendations are very important for the successful implementation of GBV recommendations. But I find that one of the things I would like to highlight is, although academics, not only me, several other academics have proposed certain recommendations, but who are the audience? That's the problem. Do the ministries, do the responsible people, are they taking these recommendations when they are preparing certain documents related to policy or programs? So that is one of the questions. So this is related to the governance issue as well. But at the same time, I would like to highlight that whenever we do the research, and then when we finish it, and when we do dissemination, we always invite the concerned communities. So that is very important, because even if the relevant authorities fail to take any action based on the recommendation, we found that they are the real audience. I mean, the Malayaha Tamilar community are the real audience. They can take some messages with them. So we have seen that some such organizations, some women who came to our conferences and dissemination workshops, they've been inspired by some of the recommendations that we have suggested, and they've been making some changes. Like, for example, I would like to say in Nuerelia, we found that one of the NGO, I mean, they formed the NGO, and then they did not know how to proceed, and then they consulted us, and we told them the whole procedure of formalizing it. So they did, and they are very much concerned about this gender-based violence. So these are very small steps, but the bigger steps should be coming from the government and relevant institutions, that I would say. But having said that, I found that I always emphasize that tailor-made solutions are very important. When it comes to the Malayaha Tamilar community, I found that although many are well versed in Sinhala language, some, not all. So when they are approaching institution to get services, one of the big barrier they face is the language. So we have the women's and children's desk at the police, but if they don't have any police officers who could speak in Tamil, that will be a problem. And then the other problem that I find is, when there are no people, when a woman affected by gender-based violence, she is coming to the service, getting the service, there's no one to accompany her. That's another thing. So that I find is a challenge. And then among the service providers, you can go on different direction, but I will focus more on the service providers, whom are very important in terms of implementing the recommendations. So through our research, we found there's lack of coordination between different service providers. That is one of the things that I would like to highlight. And also I found that there's no way to share data among the service providers. Because the UNFP is suggesting that there's a kind of essential service kit that should be provided for the victim survivors. So if it is fragmented, it would be really difficult for the person who is affected by this to go from one place to the other. There's no proper direction. So there should be a well coordinated effort in terms of addressing this issue, and that should be accessible to these people, and then it should also be in their preferred language. That is one of the things. And other thing that I want to highlight, Manishini, the issue of record keeping. So that is also a problem. So when such issues are coming, is there a proper mechanism to keep the records? So that is another thing. And making proper referrals. So these are some of the things that we found as a problem, and then we highlighted that there should be a coordinated effort in terms of the government side in addressing the issue of GBV, but I am emphasizing it should be context specific.
To celebrate the 16 days of activism, we at ISD had been conducting lots of programs. It can be starting from CBO awareness sessions and interviews like this, and also we had been having protests, and these few days had been amazing, and we had been doing lots of lobbying and advocacy programs. It had been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, especially because we know that people had been conducting lots of research, because gender-based violence has become a hot topic for research, conducting research. So thank you very much, Professor Fazeeha Azmi, for joining with us and sharing your academic insights with us. And I hope and pray that we can reduce these numbers when it comes to gender-based violence. So thank you very much, and I'm extending my gratitude on behalf of Institute of Social Development for accepting our invitation and joining with us today. So that being said, we are ending our interview, and I'm Manishini Ekanayaka from Institute of Social Development. you.